From Wrigley Field on a clear, cool, breezy spring evening, we are set for Chicago Cubs baseball on WCIU and Cubsnet. And the Cubs dropped game one of this three-game series last night. They'll try to even it up against the Milwaukee Brewers. It's game two of this series. Hi again, everyone. Alongside Bob Brenly, I'm Len Casper. The Cubs going through a bit of a dry spell right now, and this is a team that's been very good against them. Milwaukee has taken 3 of 4 already in this season series, and all those games have been here at Wrigley Field.
Well, you can look for a lot of different reasons, Len, but I think the main reason is the fact that the Brewers are a better team than they've been in the past. You see the numbers here at Wrigley Field this season against the Brewers. The Cubs haven't hit the ball particularly well. The relievers haven't pitched well. But instead of castigating the Cubs, I prefer to give the credit to the Brewers. They played extremely well here at Wrigley.
A lot of good pitching matchups on paper. It didn't work out that way last night. It was a 10-7 final, but tonight Ryan Dempster will try to keep his record perfect. He's been 3-0 and has pitched very well.
Yeah, and in his other 2 starts, he pitched well enough to win. He could very easily be 5-0. You see his numbers against the Washington Nationals in his last start. 7 strong innings, gave up only the 4 base hits. His stuff is really good right now, and he feels very strong out there on the mound. His arm strength is in a real good place, and mentally, he's really enjoying what he's doing out there on the mound.
He's not giving up a lot of hits. He's throwing a lot of strikes. And as you said, he's feeling very strong right now. Said he had a little something extra if he needed it late in that ball game against the Washington Nationals. Jeff Suppan has pitched well. A lot of no decisions for him. His only win came here in early April.
Well, Jeff Suppan is the very definition of a finesse pitcher. He'll use his breaking ball. He'll use his changeup. He'll spot his fastball sparingly. And he's off to a very good start for the Brewers this year. This guy is a tough veteran pitcher.
A big week for the Cubs after this series ends tomorrow. The Cubs will head to St. Louis. The Cardinals already won today, so the Cubs are out of first place at least for a few hours. We'll have Cubs baseball as they host the Milwaukee Brewers coming up next.
Finished. Bud Light keeps it coming. The Chicagoland area Dodge dealers and the all-new 2009 Dodge Journey. AT&T. See what's new from the new AT&T. Visit att.com for details. The Illinois Lottery. Play the Illinois Lottery. Have a ball. By Pepsi. Every sip gets you closer. And by Southwest Airlines. You're now free to be more productive. Visit southwest.com today.
And tonight's Cubs broadcast from beautiful Wrigley Field is brought to you in beautiful high definition, sponsored by Comcast. A little bit warmer tonight, but still a chill in the air. No threat of rain, wind blowing in. It was a long night last night, and the Cubs dropped a 10-7 decision to start this series. And Lou Piniella understands his team needs to get it going. The Cubs have now dropped 4 of their last 5 after winning 6 straight. Let's hear from Lou.
I don't know what we're going to do. You know, Johnson's done a nice job. PA we want to see play. They're both playing tonight. I wouldn't say a tryout. No, look, I'm going to play whoever I think can win baseball games for us or help us win baseball games. Let's talk about winning some baseball games. We've lost 4 out of 5. Let's get back on track. I think that's what needs to be addressed more than anything else.
Alfonso Soriano will be back in the lineup and will lead off and play left tomorrow. So one of the questions will be Johnson or PA, and it'll come down to the hot hand. Fontenot and Zambrano are ready to go, and Carlos shaved his head. I asked him why. He just said, why not? Something different.
Well, why not? Because it takes a layer of insulation off your dome on a night like this. Use all the hair you can get. Still banging him on the head.
And the promotional giveaway, the first 10,000 fans through the gates received a Cubs W car flag, courtesy of Chevy.
And I fully plan to use mine tonight on the ride home.
Absolutely. We have ours ready to go. Speaking of the W flag, the 10,000th franchise win flag, starting today, being auctioned exclusively on Cubs.com. All the proceeds benefit Cubs Care, and is autographed by the entire Cubs team. So check it out on Cubs.com. Now let's check in on Ned Yost's lineup. Note which side they hit from. A lot of right-handers in their lineup. The only lefty is Prince Fielder. It's the same lineup 1 through 7 and 9 from last night. The only difference, the number 8 hitter is Jeff Suppan instead of Ben Sheets.
And here's how the Cubs take the field defensively tonight behind starter Ryan Dempster. Brought to you by Pepsi. Every sip gets you closer. Johnson in left, PA in center. Sports Illustrated cover boy Kosuke Fukudome over in right field. Ramirez and Terrio on the left side. DeRosa and Lee on the right side. Giovanni Soto will be behind the dish tonight. Or right-hander Ryan Dempster. Showed you his numbers in his last start against the Nationals on the last road trip. Went 7 innings, gave up 4 hits and 2 earned runs in that ball game. And Ryan really has pitched well enough to win all 5 of his starts so far this season. As you mentioned, Len, he doesn't get hit very often. He gets in trouble occasionally when he issues those 2-out base on balls, but hopefully he'll keep those to a minimum tonight.
We have an update as we get the umpires. Tom Hallion will act as the crew chief with Jerry Crawford out. Brian O'Nora, Damian Beal filling in for Crawford. Paul Nart is at third base. Jerry was released from the hospital. He spent the night at Advocate Illinois Masonic Medical Center. He had a bad reaction to some medicine, according to the Associated Press story, but he is out of the hospital, and that is very good news.
That's outstanding news. I mentioned it last night. Jerry Crawford, one of the good guys, really works hard at his craft. The players respect him immensely. We hope he gets well soon.
He left the ball game last night. Not sure if he'll work tomorrow, but again, that's good news. And what Tom Hallion was talking to Ryan Dempster about was that I believe both pitchers will be able to blow on their hands. You see the gesture there toward the Brewers dugout. And we are set. Ricky Weeks will lead it off. The Cardinals already won today, so the Cubs are a half game out in the Central. And they are 1 game ahead of the Brewers, who are now a game and a half out.
And we should mention before we get too much further into this ball game that the wind, as always, we got to talk about the wind. Pretty much blowing straight in from right field tonight, a little brisker than it was last night. Although, even though the wind was blowing kind of across from right to left last night, it didn't appear to affect the ball much in play. I talked to Reed Johnson about that, and he said he was surprised at how little effect the wind had on the batted ball last night.
47 degrees. It was 38 last night. Outside corner for a strike. 1-2 on the Brewers leadoff man, Ricky Weeks. Mike Cameron next, and then Ryan Braun. Slider low and away. 2-2.
If you look at the career numbers for this Milwaukee lineup against Ryan Dempster, really not a lot of great numbers. The one guy you have to be concerned about is a guy hitting in the 9 spot, Jason Kendall. 464 lifetime against Dempster.
The 2-2 pitch is bounced right back to the pitcher. Yeah, you're right. Braun 0 for 5. Fielder 0 for 6. Hart 0 for 4. Hardy 0 for 8.
And of course, the guy stepping to the plate right now, he 3 for 8 lifetime. That's a 375 batting average against Ryan Dempster, but swung a hot bat in the ball game last night. First game back after his 25-game suspension to start the season.
Here's a pitch to Cameron. He shows bunt. Ramos had to come in, and he'll head back to his normal spot. He's actually in a few steps from where he was in that first pitch. Probably what Cameron wanted.
A little cat and mouse always goes on between a guy who might bunt for a base hit and the third baseman.
Derek Lee in foul ground. Puts it away.
It's not unusual to see those corner infielders come way in before the pitch is delivered. Make sure the batter sees that they're drawn in front of the baselines, and then as the pitch is being delivered, they backpedal into a more traditional defensive position. Now, against a guy that you're pretty sure will bunt for a base hit, you're told to take it away from him. Come in front of the baseline, let him see you, and then stay there so he's not even tempted to try to put down a bunt for a base hit.
Fans still filing in. We had over 39,000 last night. 39,543. Fouled away to the right.
A good fastball in the early going from Ryan Dempster. His sinker usually sits in the high 80s. It'll touch 90 on occasion, but he's throwing some four-seamers, just trying to give the hitters a different look, elevated up at the top of the strike zone with a little extra giddy up.
A one-strike pitch. 2 bouncer. It's Ramirez at third base, and Dempster works 1, 2, 3 in the top of the first. The Cubs will come up against veteran righty Jeff Suppan when we return. Pepsi. Every sip gets you closer. Lou Piniella goes with the same lineup 1 through 8 from the ball game last night. Johnson, Terrio, Lee at the top. Ramirez, Fukudome, DeRosa in the middle. Soto, PA, and Dempster at the bottom. Look at the average for Giovanni Soto.
Gotta love that for Gio. Let's take a look at the Brewers defensively. Ryan Braun in left field. Mike Cameron, as we mentioned, back from his suspension, playing center field, swinging a hot bat. Corey Hart, the Cub killer, out in right field. Bill Hall, J.J. Hardy, Ricky Weeks, and Prince Fielder across the infield. Jason Kendall once again will be doing the catching tonight for right-hander Jeff Suppan. Talked about Suppan in the open of the show. Very much a finesse pitcher. His last time out, he faced the Philadelphia Phillies, and against the left-handed batters from the Phillies, he threw only 18% fastballs. A lot of change-ups, a lot of sliders. You'll see a lot of breaking balls. All 4 of the home runs he surrendered this year have been to right-handed hitters. No homers against the lefties.
6-5 in 17 career starts against the Cubs. His only decision this year, a win here at Wrigley Field on April 2nd. 6 1/3, 2 runs. Reed Johnson 0 for 2 against Suppan. Looks at a strike at the bottom of the zone. The wind and the 0-1 pitch is outside. That was a slider from Suppan. Reed with a sacrifice fly in the opener. He went 0 for 5. And there's a little more competition, not only in center field, but on the infield as well. We say that because Mark DeRosa, who is playing second tonight, had been playing a little left. Johnson's in left. So this return of Soriano tomorrow affects not only PA and Johnson, but Ronnie Cedeno as well. Been trying to find ways to get him in the lineup. He's been playing a lot against left-handers. There's a base hit for Reed Johnson.
Did you say competition for playing time?
These are good problems.
That's a good way to respond right there. You'd much rather have too many good players than not enough good players. Reed Johnson, as he's done so many times in the early going, gets the Cubs started offensively, picks on a high fastball, drives it through that hole on the left side. From our Southwest RoboCam, you see Bill Hall didn't even move at third base. No play for J.J. Hardy at short.
I'll tell you, the other guy it could possibly affect is the guy at the plate. Now Ryan, over his last 13 games, is hitting .386. But in an effort to get a guy like Ronnie Cedeno into the lineup once Soriano's back, it puts a little pressure on Ryan to continue to hit.
Well, it's certainly not our place to say what the Cubs should do with their roster, but somebody's going to have to go. When you bring a guy back from the disabled list, you're only allowed to carry 25 players, so there will definitely be a roster move in order to create some room for Alfonso Soriano, and then the battle for playing time will begin in earnest.
And I think because it's year 2 for Lou Piniella and for all the players on this team playing for him, they know the deal. There are no surprises. You have to produce. And with a team that has dropped 4 of 5, he is not afraid to make some changes if necessary. Lou wasn't totally thrilled with the middle relief last night. The Cubs bullpen gave up 5 runs after Jason Marquis gave up 5 in the first 5 innings. The bullpen surrendered 5 over the final 4. They pitch out, and Johnson wasn't doing anything.
They pitch out right into a good hit and run count. 2-1 is a count that a lot of managers like to play hit and run, figuring that the pitcher doesn't want to fall behind 3-1. Probably get something in the strike zone right here.
2-2. Ontario, Derek Lee, who already has 8 home runs, is on deck. He hit number 8 last night.
And Derek and Gerald Perry were talking around the batting cage today. Derek hit a fly ball to center field later in the ball game that he said he hit better than his home run. Of course, the home run was in the perfect spot out there in the gap in left center field, probably the shortest area to hit a home run other than right down the lines. The ball in center just died in the wind last night.
3-2, and you have to believe Johnson will be running on this one.
.62% on his career. Stolen base attempts for Reed Johnson.
Alfonso will be back tomorrow. He'll hit leadoff and play left.
For Fonzie, it has to feel like getting out of jail.
Johnson runs, hits sharply, and it's past Ricky Weeks. That ball kicked off the mound and then got past the second baseman, and they're at the corners. Seemed to take off a little bit when it hit the dirt of the pitcher's mound, and Weeks couldn't handle it. It's a base hit.
Boy, that 3-2 count must run. Hey, you play it just like a hit and run from our Southwest RoboCam. See that ball hit to Weeks' left. He was the man breaking to cover second base on the stolen base attempt. Had to stop and reverse his field. Reed Johnson watching the action, looked back at home plate to see what was going on there, watched the ball get through the infield, and easily moves up to third base. Mike Quaddy reminding Reed Johnson where the left side of the infield is playing. They're pretty much conceding a run right here on a ground ball anywhere other than first base. You see Bill Hall well back at third, as is J.J. Hardy at short. Ricky Weeks at second, playing at double play depth. Prince Fielder will bounce off the bag as the ball's delivered to home plate.
A lot of success for Derek Lee. 10 extra base hits against Suppan. Ontario got a great jump. He'll get the second without a throw. His 7th steal. Number 21 for the Cubs this year. And they're at second and third with no outs.
And we know Kendall had a lot of problems throwing out runners last year. He's been pretty good in the early going this year. 37% of the attempted base stealers have been thrown out, but Ontario was such a big jump. Kendall didn't even want to risk a throw to second base with Reed Johnson down there at third.
Everybody's still back. Swing and the miss. Big numbers for Lee versus Jeff Suppan. Derek is in the top 5 in the majors in OPS. 1104 for the on base plus slugging going into action tonight. Good take. And I'll tell you something, Bob, maybe the tide has turned a little bit. On the OPS chart, the top 8 hitters in baseball are all in the National League. That's surprising. Chipper Jones leads the way at over 1,200. Utley, Burrow, Pujols, Lee, Berkman, McLeod, and Willingham rounding out the top 8. That ball is drilled deep to left center field, and it is off the wall. And they'll get one. Safe at second is Lee. I'm guessing Ryan Theriot didn't know where that ball was. He kind of threw up his hands as he got to third base. Johnson was able to score. And Derek looking over, I think, wondering what happened there. The good news is still no outs. But Ryan Theriot must have thought that ball was going to be caught.
Not sure what he was thinking right there. Derek Lee crushed that ball toward left field. It's off the vines and ricochets right back to Ryan Braun. He makes a nice play to get the ball back into second base quickly. I'm not sure exactly what happened with Ryan Theriot right there. Reed Johnson, the runner at third, on a ball hit in the air, goes back to tag up, and even if Braun catches the ball, Reed Johnson scores easily. Well, they'll just have to wait and score on this base hit.
Same situation, second and third for Ramirez. And the Cubs leading 1-0. RBI number 23, the 9th double for Derek. 3 straight hits.
It's a possibility that Terrio just didn't pick up the ball well off the bat. He wasn't sure exactly where it was. Looked like he was asking, did he see it? Asking about Reed Johnson.
The kick and the 0-1. Pulled to left field and deep. Ryan Braun will have to play this one off the vines. Both runners will score this time. Ramirez with 21 RBIs on the year. Just like that, it's 3-0.
And Jeff Suppan had only given up 1 first-inning run this season. Cubs are 3 on the board already, nobody out, and a runner in scoring position.
He only gave up 2 runs in 6 1/3 his last time here.
It looked like Rami got fooled just a little bit, got out in front of that pitch, but managed to flatten his bat out through the hitting zone, hook that ball down into the left field corner. And Ryan Braun has been a busy man out there in left field already in this game.
I like what you said. We'll just wait and score on this one.
Well, they say, I'm sorry I didn't score. I'm sorry I cost you an RBI. I'll make it up to you. Believe me, I'll score from first on a double next time.
You talk a lot about that and the responsibility teammates feel.
Well, absolutely. I mean, the bottom line is you're trying to win ball games and you want to do everything in your power to win those games regardless of your own personal numbers, but you feel bad for one of your teammates when you feel like you should have scored on a base hit and weren't able to.
Kosuke Fukudome looks at strike 1. It's 1-1. And the new edition of Sports Illustrated is out, and Kosuke is on the cover. Kosuke Fukudome can end the Cubs' 100-year wait. Hot off the presses. I look forward to reading it. I'm going to skip the NFL draft stuff. We're not going to know for years whether or not you get an A or a B or a C-. Ryan Braun again. This time he will catch it, but not before he had to jump.
We've seen a lot of left fielders get fooled by Fukudome's opposite field power. He takes such an easy controlled swing, but he's down and through the ball, gets a lot of backspin, and that ball just continued to carry. Braun had to go up the ladder. Boy, that's a scary feeling for an outfielder when you have to leap like that at the end of what appeared to be a routine fly ball.
Hit well by Fukudome, but for the first out. Here's Mark DeRosa. He's a number 6 hitter, and a breaker is in there for a strike. 3-0 Cubs. Middle of the order guys piling up some RBI numbers here on the final day of April. The Cubs can win tonight. They'll set a new franchise record for April wins. They're sitting on 16. The Cardinals with a franchise record 18th win in April earlier today, 5-2 over the Cincinnati Reds. So the Cardinals stay hot. They're 18-11. And they're now 12-6 at Busch Stadium. The Cubs will be there Friday night.
Well, I don't know if there's a bigger surprise in the National League than the start that the St. Louis Cardinals have gotten off to. The lineup kind of put together with duct tape and baling wire. Pitching rotation, it was missing some very valuable pieces when the season began, but somehow they've managed to crank off 18 wins.
Rick Ankiel was 8 for 13 in the series. AP game recap, Dusty Baker said, quote, "We couldn't get him out." Two balls, two strikes on Mark DeRosa. The next pitch, low and away. Good to see these deep counts from Cubs hitters. Ned Yost happy to get Mike Cameron back. Ben Sheets got the win last night after having his last start skipped. And the Cubs will get their first look here in 08 at Giovanni Gallardo tomorrow. He'll face Carlos Zambrano. Pitching coach Mike Maddox. And a lot of cameras were around that area down near the Cubs dugout. The owner of the Dallas Mavericks, Mark Cuban, in attendance, along with the head of Tribune Broadcasting, Ed Wilson, on the right. A lot of speculation that Mark Cuban is interested in possibly purchasing the Cubs. The 3-2 pitch, and DeRosa walks.
Ned Yost looks a little perplexed over there. You always give your veteran pitchers a little more leeway than you might a younger pitcher because of a track record. But the Cubs are just not giving Jeff Suppan an opportunity to get too comfortable out there on the mound. They've hit the pitches he's thrown over the plate. They've laid off the borderline pitches.
In the dirt against Giovanni Soto.
Jason Kendall trying to take the air out of the ball a little bit right here. Slow down the Cubs offense, get his pitcher back in the strike zone. I talked about how few fastballs he throws against left-handed batters. Against righties, it's a different story. He's pretty much evenly split between fastballs and sliders. Doesn't use his changeup very much. Rarely throws a curveball to a right-handed hitter.
Slide step in the pitch. Deep to left field for Giovanni Soto. That ball back and gone! Soto with a 3-run blast. 6-0. That is so good to see. Gio had an 8 at-bat streak in which he struck out in every at-bat in that series in Washington. That's his 3rd hit in this series. And what a month he has had. Now 17 RBIs, the most by a Cubs rookie since 1956, before May 1st.
Boy, the big difference I see already. Giovanni Soto, watch his head right down the barrel of the bat as he makes contact. Boy, that had a loud sound off the bat. His head was flying a little bit in that strikeout streak you talked about, but really locked in on that middle of the plate fastball from Jeff Suppan.
6-0. The Cubs had 13 runs in the first inning. In the first 26 games. Almost half that total in this ball game alone. Three and one on Felix P.A. He had a collision last night with Ricky Weeks near second base. And he got hit in that very sensitive area. Felix had the testicular torsion procedure in spring training. Fortunately, he was able to remain in the ball game. And said today he's feeling fine. Early action for Milwaukee. Seth McClung is up. They have a pretty big bullpen. They had 8 relievers. Called strike 3. Pretty emphatic call there from Tom Hallion.
A very emphatic call on a borderline pitch at best. A little sinking fastball. Felix thought it was down. Don't hurt yourself.
So 2 outs in the inning, and the pitcher bats. Ryan Dempster deposits that ball over Prince Fielder. Nobody looked more surprised than Ryan. There's a little hesitation out of the box. That's his second hit. He's now batting .200.
That's the 7th base runner here in the first inning for the Cubs. Their last time out against Jeff Suppan, he only gave up 8 base runners the entire ball game. From our Southwest RoboCam, where'd it go? Where'd it go? Ryan Dempster realized that ball's going to land fair down the right field line. Got a little bit of a slow start out of the batter's box, but he wasn't going to make it to second base anyway.
Hey, it's Reed Johnson again. Didn't we just see him? Started the inning with a single. Well, you always hear the cliche, you got to get to him early. Well, the Cubs have. They've gotten to Jeff Suppan very early. This is going to be a tough play as Hardy will get the out at second. Might not have had much of a shot at the streaking Johnson at first base. 10 come to the plate. Huge inning for the Cubs as they score 6 times and lead 6-0.
Bottom half of the first inning, paced by Giovanni Soto's 4th home run of the season, came on a fastball down the middle of the plate. A couple of teammates on base ahead of him. Nice quick swing by Gio. Our Southwest, how far did it fly? 359 feet, just inside the pole, down in the left field corner.
Ryan Dempster looks for that shutdown inning after his team gave him the 6 big ones in the first inning. They put the big shift on against Prince Fielder. He'll be followed by Corey Hart and Bill Hall. Popped up, and Ramirez, and now Johnson coming over, and it's just out of play. Aramis was looking for a little help there. No shortstop available. And another big announcement for the Chicago Blackhawks today, and we have Blackhawks chairman Rocky Wirtz in the booth with us. Not only will the Blackhawks be on WGN television this coming season, but also on WGN radio as well. Rocky, congratulations and welcome to the booth.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm not used to having seats like this.
It's not a bad seat.
No, we're excited about being on WGN radio. It's going to really help us build our fan base, and I think we've turned the corner, and we're certainly looking for great things ahead of us.
A lot has happened over the last 8 or 9 months with this franchise.
Well, if you talk to one, you talk to 100 people that talk about they used to go to games, and now they're going to give us another chance, and you can't be more proud of them coming back.
There's some exciting young players on the Hawks. A fun team to watch.
Well, thank you. You've had some of them up here in the booth, and they all talked about how much they've enjoyed it, and you think these kids are 19, 20, 21 years of age. I mean, they could be any out of our children or grandchildren. It's just terrific.
1 ball and 2 strikes on Prince Fielder. Ryan Dempster, a huge hockey fan from British Columbia, knows many of the Hawks players pretty well. 2-2. In fact, Rocky, when we were in Pittsburgh, the Penguins were just starting their playoff series. I think Ryan was invited to go skate, but it was a day before his start, so he decided probably shouldn't do that today.
Well, I'm sure that's a lot. That's not what you want to do, is go out and skate before your game. Yeah, exactly.
Maybe next spring he can do it at the United Center. And the atmosphere this year was just so incredible. And the key is that the team had a very good season on the ice. And I know that's the singular focus, is to get this franchise back where it belongs, and that is near the top of the division in the league as well.
Well, that's our goal, is to win the Stanley Cup. And from the person who sweeps up to Dale and his staff, to John and myself, as that is it. We all have single-minded determination what to do to bring a winner to Chicago.
2-2 on Fielder. Well, I have to tell you, Rocky, when we had your guys up here in the booth a couple of weeks ago, they were very generous. They brought us each a Blackhawks jersey with our names on the back of them. That's one of the best gifts I've ever received up here in the booth.
Well, we're proud of that crest, and we're happy to accept it.
I think the 2 best jerseys in all of sports, the Cubs home jersey and the Blackhawks home jersey as well. PA will come in, but he'll have to play it on the bounce. And that's the first hit for Milwaukee. Prince Fielder holding out his hands.
That's because they're numb right now.
I was going to say that one stung a little bit. Maybe he's doing some sort of hypnosis right now. What does that feel like, Bob?
Oh, I mean, it's been described as a handful of bees. It's just a buzzing, tingling feeling. Your fingers go numb momentarily. Not a good feeling at all.
Corey Hart has hit in 8 straight. He had 3 hits last night.
I mean, it happens more often to some hitters than others. It doesn't happen often to Prince Fielder, but ow, ow, ow. He has to look down to make sure his fingers are still connected to his arm. He's still looking at him.
The 0-1 pitch is inside on Corey Hart. Well, I would ask you what's next, because it seems like every week or two there's another huge announcement. It's an exciting summer because you're going to have a big summer convention, and I know that things sold out very quickly, correct?
Well, it is. It's the first hockey sport that's had a summer convention, so we're pioneering new ground. It's something not new for people in Chicago, but it is for the National Hockey League, and we have 30 players that have agreed to come back, and any of the players that are in the U.S. and North America will be coming here.
That is outstanding. And you're also bringing back a lot of the great Blackhawk players from the past, which is a great thing.
Well, we are. I mean, that's something that both from Bobby Hall to Stan Mikita and Tony Esposito, and Bobby Hall was in this weekend, and Tony Esposito, and they were making the personal appearances, and it's just terrific to have them back.
DeRosa circling around, and he makes a catch. So 1 out, and it's Bill Hall coming up. Well, we're very excited for you, Rocky. Again, the games will all be on television coming up this year. And now on WGN Radio. It's going to be very exciting.
Well, in hockey, it's a terrific sport on high def, so we're lucky enough to be able to, between WGN and on Comcast Sportsnet, we'll have every game on, and now with radio, it's so great with WGN radio in 30-plus states in the U.S. and most of Canada. That reach is just terrific.
That's a great point you made about high definition. I'm a huge hockey fan and a big Blackhawks fan, and that is a sport like baseball that is so enhanced by high definition.
Well, you get spoiled, and once you watch a game, you never want to go back and watch it without it. And then baseball, I mean, my gosh, you can look at the pitches and see it. When I watch baseball, I don't watch anything else but on high def.
We got to put you on the spot, Rocky, while we have you here. Any predictions for the Stanley Cup playoffs?
Well, I'm not gonna promise something that I won't give you 110%, but I do promise you 110% effort on this.
Nice dig by Derek Lee as Ramirez off balance on his throw. 2 outs in the inning.
A great feeling for an infielder to know that when you have to rush that throw across the diamond, you've got a first baseman over there that's more than capable of making a bad throw look like a good one. This is not an easy short hop. That ball hit out in the infield grass. You never know if it's going to hydroplane and stay down. Is it going to hit and come up? Derek Lee stayed with it perfectly.
It's J.J. Hardy, who's the number 7 hitter, but you can approach him a little bit differently here because the pitcher is batting 8. Jeff Suppan is in the on-deck circle. Now, having said that, Ryan Dempster doesn't want to give up too many walks with his team up 6-0 this early on. Outside. Again, Rocky, congratulations on all your success. We very much look forward to this coming fall. It'll be here before you know it. Please give our best to John McDonough and Jay Blunk. And you mentioned Dale Talon, the general manager, Dennis Savard, and the entire organization. As Bob said, they've been great to us, and we look forward to going to many games coming up this fall.
Well, thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Rocky. And,
thanks for having me.
Looking forward to a great summer, and then Blackhawks hockey coming up this fall.
Thank you again.
Want to see a Cubs game from the front row at Wrigley Field? Now you can. Visit Cubs.com and click on the CBOE front row seats auction to bid on tickets in the front row behind home plate and along the first base line for the May 9th through May 18th games. Don't miss your chance. Go to Cubs.com and check out the CBOE front row seats auction today. Big start for the Cubs offense. They dropped 4 of their last 5, but they lead 6-0. Last night was the Cubs' first loss, and they had scored at least 4 runs. They had won their first 14 and scoring 4 or more. Tonight, 6 in the first. Backhanded play by Weeks. Ontario has hit both balls in a similar spot. The first one took a wicked hop after it hit the mound. That one stayed true, and Weeks was able to make the play.
Yeah, he's hit both those balls very hard back up the middle of the field. Good sign. Ryan Theriot getting the barrel of the bat out in front, driving that ball up the middle. Boy, even though the Cubs put a 6 spot up in the first inning, I think it's very important that they continue to add on offensively. We talked about it briefly in that first inning. Jeff Suppan, a veteran pitcher, and the old cliche, you got to get him early. You mentioned that, Len, and if you let this guy settle in, he can put some zeros on the board. And we know the Brewers have the kind of offense, when they're swinging the bats well, to score 6 runs in a hurry. So keep adding on.
The 2-0 pitch to Derek. Missed again, 3-0. Jeff Suppan almost got yanked in the first inning. They had Seth McClung up in the bullpen. Might not be a tougher decision for a manager than a starting pitcher who looks like he can't get through the first inning. You never want to pull a guy that early. Sometimes you have to. Weeks makes the play. It made it look easy. It was not, with that wind blowing in.
Well, we saw DeRosa and Fukudome struggle on a ball hit in a similar location. Wind really pushing that ball back toward the infield. Weeks with one last look at Corey Hart to see if he was going to get any help from his right fielder, and able to make that catch just off his left shoulder.
Ramos knocked in 2 with his double in the first. The other ancillary benefit of getting everybody up on a night like this in the first inning, you get everybody loose. Got him running the bases. They're into the ball game. They've now seen the pitcher once.
It's the best way to stay warm on a night like this is to get busy offensively.
Foul back. See, I have to keep up with you with the multi-syllabic words. Ancillary. What was the word you dropped in the open?
Castigate.
Castigate. That's nice.
I don't know where that came from. I was searching for a word, and that seemed to fit.
It was perfectly used. I didn't think it was superfluous in any manner.
Well, when you're a graduate of the Harvard on the Hawking, it's not hard to come up with multi-syllabic words.
A high pop fly to right.
Trouble.
Corey Hart runs well, and he got there to make the catch. The Cubs go down 1-2-3. They lead 6-0. Where would you rather be? Jeff Suppan looks at a strike. He's off to an 0 for 10 start, and he just hit it foul for the second strike. Arizona, the first team to get to 20 wins, 8-7 over Houston. Micah Owings with a game-tying pinch hit home run in the 6th. He went oppo just off the plate. 1-2. They've won 9 straight series. Dempster dropped it, but he has time. Some of your favorite Cubs players are headed for Universal Orlando Resort December 10th through the 14th, and you're invited. Join past and present Cubs players for private events at Universal Orlando's 2 amazing theme parks, plus enjoy an on-field baseball clinic at historic Jackie Robinson Ballpark. This exclusive vacation is available only through AAA Travel. Call 1-866-YOUR-AAA for details on how you can be part of the fun. Sounds like a great trip.
One of the happiest places on earth.
Jason Kendall, the former Cub, off to a good start. And as you mentioned earlier, he's had big numbers against Brian Dempster. 13 for 28. Outside.
Well, Jason Kendall, really old school in a lot of different ways, but no batting gloves on a very chilly evening here at Wrigley Field. If he gets jammed the way Prince Fielder did, his fingers may fall off.
Chokes up a little bit on the bat. In Dempster's last start, he struggled early on, but really got locked in. And had the best stuff Larry Rothschild has seen from him all year. If the fans watching tonight haven't seen Ryan pitch that much this year, they'll notice, number one, that he's going from the windup as opposed to when he was a closer. He pitched exclusively from the stretch. Watch that glove. It's because he starts with a split finger fastball grip, and if he changes that grip to another pitch grip, he does not want to tip it, so he moves that glove around on every pitch.
It doesn't really matter what you do, just so you're consistent. You do the same thing every time. You see Ryan digging for that split finger grip right there. Goes into his glove, gets his sign from Gio, and a little distracting to the hitter there to see that glove wiggle.
Fukudome banging up against the wall. There's still some padding where he went in, unable to make the catch, but a good effort.
Shaking that left wrist, he went hard into that padded wall down the right field line. We'll see the tail end of this play. Never takes his eye off the ball until the last instant. The ball hit the side wall before he could get over there.
They hit the 4th panel of the padding. That was a great invention, wasn't it? Johnson calls off PA.
Reed Johnson is thankful for padded outfield walls. That catch he made in Washington. I'm not so sure Reed would have tried to make the same play had it been hit here at Wrigley Field in left center. Obviously the bricks behind the ivy, where he was able just to tuck his head in and curl his body enough that he took the brunt of it on the back of his shoulders. Although I'm not so sure the way Reed Johnson plays the game, he probably would have done the same thing into the bricks.
Yeah, that would have been my guess. Comebacker and through. Ricky Weeks with his second hit in the series. Well, it's the sort of conversation that comes up every time we see Aaron Rowand, and that is what's aggressive versus reckless.
I mean, everybody loves to see aggressive play, but you also like to see your players able to come back the next day and play again.
Game number 2 for Mike Cameron. Spent the first 25 games on the suspended list after a second positive test for a stimulant that's banned under baseball's drug program. That was before he signed with Milwaukee in the offseason, so they knew when they got him that he was going to miss basically the first month. And he had a big debut last night. He had 3 hits. Knocked in 2, scored twice. And one of his biggest fans, except for this series, is in the Cubs dugout, Lou Piniella, who was his manager in Seattle.
We talked about Cameron last night. For me, he's always been a very streaky offensive player. He can carry a team for a couple weeks at a time and then need some help from his teammates in the meantime, but he brings that glove every day out there in center field. Tremendous ball hawk.
Very close. Dempster didn't get the call, and that's a big swing pitch. Instead of 2-2, it's 3-1, and he needs an extra second. He's not happy.
I believe Tom Hallion, the home plate umpire, called that pitch high. Dempster looked in for a long time after the pitch, wanting to know where it was. Gio pushes it down a little bit after receiving that pitch.
We have seen umpires call that high strike. Swing and a miss. 3-2.
Well, we know Hallion will call the low strike. We saw him call one on Felix P.A. back in the first inning. I'll tell you, as a pitcher, you'll take that high strike, but you really don't want to pitch up there very often.
Weeks runs on the 3-2. That one is too high, and Soto will head out. Did you like the way Ryan expressed his disgust? Instead of jawing at the umpire, he walked away from him off the back of the mound. Now, we see him a lot, and I would guess that he wasn't happy with it, but he wasn't, quote, showing him up. I'm sure that that's a better way to do it than to walk toward home plate and say something.
Well, especially if you want to pitch effectively deep into this ball game. The last thing in the world you want to do is do anything to offend that home plate umpire and make him squeeze that strike zone even more.
Paul Nart had a couple of calls that the pitchers didn't like. But that's a day in the life of a home plate umpire.
Yes, indeed.
That is a base hit for Ryan Braun. Johnson will cut it off, but not before Weeks scores. Cameron to third, and the Brewers are on the board. It's 6-1.
Well, the trouble starting with 2 outs once again. This is something that's been a little problematic for Ryan Dempster in the early going this season. He seems to get 2 quick outs in an inning, and then whether it be a base hit or a base on balls, the inning continues and he just can't seem to get that third out. Sometimes maybe in a little bit too big of a hurry to get that third out. Got to continue to execute your pitches.
Doesn't seem like this would be a huge juncture with the Cubs up 5, but Dempster's facing Prince Fielder with 2 on and 2 outs, and with 1 swing the Brewers can get right back in this game. 2 strikes. Mentioned the Diamondbacks with their 20th win. Of their last 9 series, they have won 8. And also split a 2-game set with the Dodgers. We'll see Arizona coming up on the next homestand. Schedule's getting tougher now for the Cubs, hosting Milwaukee this week. The Brewers right now are 4 over. St. Louis leads the division at 18-11. And after a 3-game series at Cincinnati, it's back home to play the Diamondbacks. Did it hit him? I guess not. Fielder dusts himself off. But Dempster went in on an 0-2.
Nothing wrong with that. Got to work both sides of the plate. That pitch is well below the shoulders.
Foul ball. I think the theory there for Derek was if I step on first as fast as I can and then run toward the dugout, they'll call him out.
Maybe they won't notice that the ball was about 10 feet foul. I think most hitters, I mean, I'm sure Prince Fielder's not ecstatic about having that pitch thrown right in on his belt buckle right there by Ryan Dempster, but most hitters understand that a pitcher's going to try to push you off the plate in order to work that outside corner as long as he does it below the shoulders and above the knees.
Swung at that high pitch. Johnson will get there in time. That was an uncomfortable jog there for Reed Johnson. With the wind blowing tonight, 6-1 Cubs.
Chicago Cubs baseball from Wrigley Field is brought to you by Bud Light. Endless refreshment from start to finish. Bud Light keeps it coming.
Ryan Braun with an RBI single. He's driven in 2 in this series. But the Cubs lead by 5. They'll go back to work at the plate. Kosuke Fukudome against Jeff Suppan in the last of the 3rd. Suppan with 51 pitches made over 2 innings. Off his foot, it kicks right to Prince Fielder and by him. Fukudome on his way to second base. How about that play? I think that'll be a double. One of the strangest two-base hits you'll ever see.
Well, once again, you got to give it up to Fukudome for hustling. That ball hit Suppan on the top of his right foot. A lot of English as it bounced over there by Prince Fielder. Got by him into foul territory, and as always, Fukudome assuming nothing, hustling down that first baseline. When the ball gets away from Fielder, he doesn't hesitate. Cruises into second base easily. One of the shortest doubles you'll ever see.
Roger Kaplinger, their athletic trainer, out with Ned Yost to check on Suppan. A lot of talking going on the mound.
It looked like it hit him on the top of the right shoe. Yeah, maybe on the toe, although I think if it hit him on the toe, he probably wouldn't be as comfortable out there on the mound as he is right now.
So that's his push-off leg. Well, he just went up and in on Rhino.
I think I've told this story before about former Cub and a former teammate of mine with the Giants, Mike Krukow. When that would happen to him on the mound, trainer would come out, the umpire would come out, the manager would come out. He'd say, let me throw a couple. He'd wind up and throw the first pitch halfway up the backstop and then say, I'm okay, let's go. The batter in the on-deck circle would be standing there with his eyes as big as saucers going, wait a minute, I don't want to get in there if that's the best he can do.
Maybe take a couple more, please.
Looks like Suppan's going to be all right, walking it off. Good start to the inning for the Cubs.
Runner at second with nobody out. DeRosa walked and scored on the 3-run homer by Soto in the first inning. Suppan wants Kendall to start the signs all over again.
Big gap in right center field for DeRosa. He's been driving a lot of balls that direction lately. Can't hold up on that slider out of the strike zone.
The home plate umpire Tom Hallion made that call on the check swing. 2 strikes.
You see that gap in right center field. Mark DeRosa, because of that little hitch that he has in his swing, really stays up the middle of the field a lot. If he gets fooled with an off-speed pitch, that's a ball he'll jerk pull into left field, but most of the time he's trying to drive the ball just like that.
He wraps a single into the right. Fukudome around third. 7-1.
Hitter has some kind of a mechanism that gets him into a good hitting position, and the good hitters try to stay from gap to gap. If they get fooled by a pitch, they can still keep it fair to their pull field. And DeRosa, you'll see a little bit of a hitch there, drops his hands, gets him back up into a hitting position. He too, with his head right down the barrel of the bat, drives that ball the other way.
Was some excellent RBI totals through the first month. Lee with 23, Ramirez 21. DeRosa now with 18. Soto has 17. The leadoff hitter Reed Johnson with 10. How about Ronnie Cedeno at 44 at bats, has 13 RBIs. Been a long night already in the visitors' dugout. A 2-0 pitch to Soto. Another one drilled, but Braun right on the edge of the track with the catch.
Sounded like he got that one out toward the end of the bat a little bit. Didn't carry quite the way his 4th home run did back in the 1st inning.
Cubs fans, don't forget to check out our WGN Baseball blog on WGNTV.com. Click on the sports link and look for Len and Bob's Baseball blog. On the blog tonight, I ask you who you think will be the biggest competition for the Cubs in this division. Game notes from our friends at Stats and much more. PA slices this one just into the seats. Once again, WGNTV.com. Click on the sports link and then look for Len and Bob's blog and our current podcast. We have some big surprises coming up on our podcast. Big announcement coming up. So make sure you check that out.
Nice shirt.
We don't want to give it away, but we've been talking about it for the last 3 years. It's finally come to fruition.
Well, Rome wasn't built in a day, and our podcast studio wasn't built in 3 years, so.
1-2 on Felix, PA. Inside.
Suppan hasn't had great command of his slider in the early going tonight, but after that fastball inside that pushed PA off the plate, it looks like Kendall's going away. I was going to suggest a slider down and in. Goes with the fastball, and PA just misses extra bases down that right field line. You throw that fastball in off the plate like he did on the pitch before to Felix, PA, and then you come back with a slider that starts over the inner third of the plate. It looks like a good pitch to hit, but it ends up right back in on your knuckles.
When Soriano comes back and PA is in the lineup, you'd likely see him remain in the 8th spot. Terrio's second. Back of second, J.J. Hardy out and calling and catching. But with Reed Johnson in the lineup, Lou has a couple of options. He could go with Terrio second. He could go with Johnson second. Whoever doesn't hit second could hit 7th or 8th. We both know that Lou has written out 7 or 8 different lineup configurations. And they're strewn about his office.
And we also know that Lou Piniella is not afraid to make a change if what he tries doesn't work. I mean, I think the hope for Lou and Cub fans everywhere are that Alfonso Soriano goes back into that one spot in the lineup and starts doing the things that he's done so successfully throughout the course of his career.
Ryan Dempster gets a hold of one. Cameron will make the catch. That sounded good off the bat. Dempster hit that ball 330 feet. 7-1 after 3. next poll question. 1 month into this 2008 campaign, we want to know how you feel about the Cubs season so far. Text to 97999. A, if the Cubs record is better than you thought at this point. B, for about what you expected. C, not as good as you expected. Again, 97999. We'll give you the results later in the game. It's brought to you by the new AT&T. See what's new at the new AT&T. Visit att.com for details. Mark DeRosa with an RBI single, plating Fukudome. So it's now 7-1.
I asked Mark DeRosa if he was happy to get back into the infield last night. Started to play a lot of left field in the absence of Alfonso Soriano. He said his mind wanders too much in the outfield. Finds himself thinking about his last at bat, thinking about his next at bat, thinking about packing for a road trip, what he needs to do tomorrow before he comes to the ballpark. He said, in the infield, my mind never wanders. I see the signs from the catcher. I position myself. I anticipate the ball being hit to me. He said, out there in left field, I have way too much time for my mind to wander.
He also said last night it was 15 degrees colder in the outfield than it was in the infield. Not sure I believe that, but makes a catch, retiring Corey Hart. If that's how it felt, that's how it felt. I did ask him if it's weird or harder to go from the outfield to the infield during a ball game versus infield to outfield. He goes, you know what, I've never thought about it, but yeah, you know, the game's a little faster when you're that much closer to the plate. Cued off the end of the bat right to Ed Cedar, the first base coach. Ed is from Waukegan.
We've had the shots in the past of outfielders, especially during day games, standing out there working on their swings between pitches, looking at their shadow in the grass. You gotta find something to do to occupy yourself between pitches. You don't have that luxury in the infield. Saw Giovanni Soto hold up his hand and his mitt, kind of telling Ryan Dempster, slow down a little bit now. We're getting too big of a hurry.
Seth McClung just watching from the bullpen. Three and one. Dempster 3-0 on the season. 6th start. 5-2 with 10 career saves against Milwaukee and a stellar 2.40 ERA. PA drifts back, stops and catches.
Hey, look at his 2 no decisions on the season. We talked about his last time out against the Nationals, 7 innings, 4 hits, 2 earned runs. Had a no decision against the Pirates in Pittsburgh, his 2nd start of the season. That was a Cubs victory, a 6-4 win in 15 innings, but he went 7 innings, gave up only 1 hit, and did not allow a run. Could very easily have won both those games.
Able to make this play, and Hardy and the Brewers are out. They go in order in the 4th. All Cubs early on, 7-1. pitch tonight in recognition of April being National Donate Life Month. Currently, more than 98,000 people in the United States are waiting for a transplant. There's the number. You can join the registry by calling 1-800-210-2106 or go to lifegoeson.com. Again, the new registry currently has 1.9 million organ tissue donors. No age limit or restriction to register. Top three in the batting order for the Cubs against Jeff Suppan, who's had a rough night. The wind and the 0-1 delivery is hit foul. Here's the back of my driver's license. There are 2 lines for witnesses. Notice the signature. Jesse White. He was with us a couple of years ago. So please register. Lifegoeson.com. Bill Hall played center last year. Back on the infield, playing third this season.
He said he was popular here at Wrigley. I didn't realize he was that popular. I hate to break the news to her, but Reed's already spoken for her.
Ryan Terrio, ball 1. Reed has done a terrific job with the Cubs both ways. He made one of the greatest catches you'll ever see in Washington. Hit foul and out of play down along the right field line. Starting to see some green stuff on the walls.
All right.
He's coming in.
We're looking for any sign of summer right about now.
Saw some snow a couple of days ago. Did you see any downtown?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I don't know if it was hitting the ground, but it was blowing by my window sideways.
You're so far up there, couldn't even see the ground.
Well, and over at our podcast studios with that heated roof, you know, the snow doesn't stick.
I was going to ask you, as Terrio singles into left, is your place higher than our perch in Washington?
I'll tell you, the only thing higher than our perch in Washington is the space shuttle. I mean, planes were landing at the airport there below us. Ontario having himself a nice night, has hit the ball hard a couple times, back up the middle. This time goes to left field.
Not quite a marriage proposal, but she wants a prom date. One ball, no strikes. Carlos Zambrano read to children from Inter-American School for the Cubs Spotlight on Reading program before the ball game. Big swing and a breaker, and he missed it.
Suppan really took a lot off of that breaking pitch. He's starting to change speeds on his off-speed pitches. Still hasn't been able to consistently command that tailing fastball. Made a lot of mistakes over the heart of the plate in the early going tonight.
into the gap for Derek Lee. Terrio to third. He will hold there. It's a single for Lee.
Derek Lee waits on this pitch, centers it up, drives it into that gap in left center. Looked like Ryan Terrio wanted to score from first base there to make up. Well, the first time he was on base for Derek Lee and did not score from second base on a knock. He was really scooting around second base.
First and third, the Brewers want a double play. Ramirez at the plate, 1 out of 2 with a 2-run double in the first. He also scored a run. Here's the pitch. That's a strike. I got a package today, and in it was a staple remover and 2 Band-Aids. I thought, okay, this is a little odd. Well, then I remembered our conversation on April 6th. I actually stuck a staple through my finger and had mentioned it on the air. So Anna Kawka, K-A-W-K-A, sent me a staple remover, and just in case I jab myself again, some Band-Aids. So Anna, thank you very much.
Did you get a paper cut trying to open the box?
No.
Okay.
Be careful right there. It's sharp. Need a Band-Aid?
I'm good for now, thanks.
Actually, what I really needed was a rubber band, which is holding everything together. Well, it's nice to know that people are really paying attention. Long look by Suppan. Ground ball to third, knocked down. But that's it. Might have stung Bill Hall. Not sure quite where it got him. Cubs get their 8th run. It'll be an RBI for Ramirez. It's an error on Hall, his 4th of the year.
The ball was hit very hard down there to third base. Hall goes down to a knee to try to corral that ball. It was hit so hard he probably still would have had a chance to turn the double play, but can't come up with it cleanly. A lot of topspin on that ground ball. Terrio going on contact, scores easily. Cubs have him at first and second with 1 out.
Second error of the series for Hall.
With their 10 hits in the ball game tonight, it marks the 14th time in 26 ball games the Cubs have put at least 10 hits on the board.
Eight-1, first and second. Kosuke turns on one. That's deep, and it is foul. Trying for a second home run of the year.
Got everybody in the ballpark excited except for Kosuke. He saw that ball was hooking foul down the right field line. The wind may have held it up a little bit. Don't believe it had home run distance, but he sure did hit it crisp.
Suppan just trying to survive this 4th inning. They give way to their bullpen here pretty soon.
Well, his spot is due up first in the top half of the 5th inning, and I have to believe this is going to be his last inning of work if he's able to get through this inning. 83 pitches already here.
The other thing, Ned Yost doesn't want to get everybody loose in his bullpen and not use them. Already had McClung up a couple of times. Brian Schaus currently getting ready. Talked about it last night. At one point, the Brewers had 14 pitchers and just 11 position players. Now it's 13 and 12. A 1-2 to Kosuke, a roller. Hall will gobble it up, get the out at second base, and that's it. About the only way to double up Kosuke is if he hits a ball about as hard as he can hit it right at one of the middle infielders.
Well, there's no doubt the effort has been there on a daily basis for Kosuke Fukudome. Everything he's going through, adjusting to a new experience here in the States, playing in a new ballpark in a new city with new teammates. Looks very comfortable once he puts that uniform on and starts to play. Nice stop by Jason Kendall there, change up in the dirt.
Well, this 2008 Cubs team has displayed a little more speed than last year. You can see on plays like that, you get an extra hitter up in the inning. Cubs already with 21 stolen bases, came in 6th in the National League.
It's just a trickle-down effect. You send another hitter to the plate in this inning, it forces the pitcher to throw more pitches to either get this guy out or have him get a base hit or draw a base on balls. The more you can tire out that pitcher, the better chance he's going to make a mistake on the hitters that follow you.
I've often had spirited discussions or arguments with people about the sort of lineup you want to build, and it's great to have speed, but you have to be able to get on base to utilize that speed, and the ability to get on base and to hit for power, in my opinion, is more important than speed. But if you get those things, and the Cubs have, plus speed, that's where you take your offense, in my opinion, to the next level. Speed without those other things, you're probably going to be in the bottom third of the in runs. But they've done it all.
Well, it just gives you an option, ways to manufacture runs when your big guys aren't hitting the home runs, when you're facing a tough pitcher on a given day, when runs are at a premium. If you've got some speed in your lineup, you have that ability to take an extra base, steal a base, score from first on a double. And in a lot of cases, that's the difference in winning and losing a ball game. I mean, we've talked about it with Lou this year. He likes to play around with the guys at the top, Johnson and Terrio. He'll play hit and run. He'll let those guys steal a base. And then again, when you get down to Mark DeRosa, Giovanni Soto, and whoever's hitting in the 8th spot, he likes to play a little hit and run, start the runners down there at the bottom. Certainly the guys in the middle are going to get every opportunity to pick a pitch and drive.
Thumped into center by DeRosa. He knocks in lead. 9-1. Jeff Suppan has a very bruised earned run average. Came in at 348, and it will balloon. Already up near 5, and that's going to be it.
We showed you DeRosa swing back in the 3rd inning when he drove a ball to the opposite field. This time finds the other gap in left center field. Head right down the barrel of the bat once again from our Southwest RoboCam. DeRosa staying up the middle of the field. A lot of base hits from gap to gap.
The only thing that will help Suppan or won't hurt him is that'll be an unearned run because of the error. It's 9-1, and we'll be back. the game. Giovanni Soto in his first at bat. After a rough weekend in Washington, he's had a good start to this series. 3-run homer. Turned a 3-0 lead into a 6-0 advantage. Nissan drive of the game. Now it's 9-1. How about this? The Cubs last year hit double digits offensively 10 times in 162 games. This year, they've already done it 4 times, and they're a run away from doing it for a 5th time in the first 27 contests. High deep drive. Giovanni Soto with another 3-run homer. What a night. 12-1. 2 homers and 6 RBIs for Soto. He's back. What a blast that was.
Man, I'll tell you what a turnaround, Schaus, with that submarine delivery. Soto has hit the ball right on the button every trip to the plate here tonight. Twice the ball has left the yard.
First career 2-homer game for Soto.
I'll tell you, Len, in Washington, Giovanni Soto couldn't hit a beach ball with an ironing board. He was having all kinds of problems just making contact. Now he is squaring up everything.
12-1. Did you ever hit a beach ball with an ironing board?
I can't say as I did, but that's what it looks like.
That's a great picture you painted. I love it. PA strikes out. Giovanni Soto with 2 3-run home runs. The latest deep to left center and out, and he knew it. 12-1. A huge night for the Cubs battery. Giovanni Soto with 2 home runs and 6 RBIs. Ryan Dempster cruising along with a 12-1 lead as he tries to improve to 4-0 to start the year. And he faces Tony Gwynn Jr. pinch hitting for Brian Schaus. What a rough night for Jeff Suppan. 11 runs, 7 earned in 3 2/3. So his earned run average went from 348 to 493. Ouch. A ground ball. DeRosa to lead for out number 1.
There have been a lot of heroes in this ball game for the Cubs. None bigger than Giovanni Soto. His second 3-run blast of the ball game. Our Southwest, how far did it fly? 381 feet. Got every bit of it.
So the Cubs have scored 5 runs in an inning, 8 times to lead the majors. 2 of them tonight, 6 in the first, 5 in the just completed 4th.
Well, that old cliche about hitting being contagious, the Cubs have certainly taken that to heart this year. Seems like once that ball starts rolling, everybody gets involved.
Two balls, no strikes on Kendall. Well, you'd like to see Dempster go deep into this ball game. Might be an opportunity for a couple of struggling relief pitchers to work on some things tonight. Kevin Hart was charged with 3 runs in an inning and a third last night. Sean Marshall faced one and walked the only hitter he was up against, and Michael Wirtz also scuffled a bit in the 7th inning as Kendall draws the walk. This is a bit of an adjustment for Ryan Dempster. Former closer. He's not used to pitching with an 11-run lead.
I'm sure he could get used to it real quick. You get that kind of offensive support, it certainly makes your job a lot easier as a pitcher. Ryan Dempster should have one thing on his mind right now: throw strikes. Certainly good quality strikes down low in the zone, on the edges of the strike zone, but no reason to nibble around at this point.
Weeks with the only Brewer run. That came in the 3rd inning. And if you go back to August 10th of last year, the date Weeks rejoined the big league club, he was at AAA for a brief stint. He has led the majors in runs, including tonight 66 runs since August 10th of 07. Hanley Ramirez and Matt Holliday round out the top 3. The big night tonight. Cubs have scored 6 or more runs in their last 7 home games. Ricky Weeks backed off the plate by Dempster.
Well, that was close. He nearly walked into a tailing fastball right here. Turns his head away at the last instant. Oh. That dust coming off of Giovanni Soto's glove. That's the chalk around home plate there. When he puts his glove down on the ground to adjust his stance, he got in some of that chalk in the batter's box.
Larry heading out. Let's take a look at our upcoming WGN produced baseball schedule in high definition, sponsored by Comcast. Tomorrow afternoon's series finale with the Brewers. Back on WGN Sports at 1 o'clock with the Leadoff Man Show. We'll be in St. Louis Friday night. First game of a long season series against the Cardinals on WGN Sports at 7. White Sox and Blue Jays in Toronto beginning at 11:30 with White Sox warm-up on Sunday. All in beautiful HD, sponsored by Comcast. 2 on with 1 out. If the Cubs just can continue to score at least 7 runs for every home game like they had the last 6 and counting, they're going to win a lot of ball games here at home. They came in tonight 10-5 within the friendly confines. Popped him up. Ramirez makes a catch. Two outs, and it's Ryan Braun. The Nationals won again after Atlanta took a 2-1 lead in the 12th. The Nationals scored 2 in the bottom of the 12th to win it 3-2. So they have taken 5 of their last 6. San Diego leads at Philadelphia 3-2 in the bottom of the 4th. Gonzalez and Kuzmanov have gone deep for the Padres. Chase Utley with his 11th for the Phillies. The Dodgers 4, Florida nothing in the 5th. Russell Martin with his 3rd home run. Going back to my sports radio days, the Pirates mauled the Mets. I have to do that alliteration as Braun will send home 2. So the walks come back to bite Ryan Dempster. It's now 12-3. Braun with all 3 Brewers RBIs. That's a double.
I talked about Ryan Dempster's only job at this point is to throw quality strikes. Unfortunately, when you do that with a big lead in the ball game against a good hitting ball club, they're going to get some base hits. They're going to score a few runs. You just have to limit the damage. As you said, it's the base on balls that really caused him more problems in this inning than the double by Ryan Braun.
Roll to DeRosa, shallow right. And fielder is out. Milwaukee gets a pair. And it's all Cubs on this nice night here at Wrigley. 12-3. On tonight's Honda Accord game summary. Cubs with a huge offensive night. They got 6 in the first, 1 in the third, 5 in the fourth, highlighted by 2 3-run shots by Giovanni Soto. Visit your Honda dealer and test drive the all-new 268 horsepower Accord V6. Tony Gwynn's now playing left. Also a new first baseman. Backup catcher Mike Rivera. So Braun and Fielder are out. And Seth McClung takes over on the hill. You never use the phrase give up. But there are certain nights when a manager just kind of has to try to give the everyday players a few innings off. Try to do your best to preserve the bullpen.
And not only that, but give your bench players a few ABs where they know they're going to get at least a couple of trips to the plate. You're right. You never give up, and we've seen it happen a lot of times when a manager will empty his bench and not necessarily concede the ball game, but as you said, give your starters the second half of the ball game off, get your bench players in there, and suddenly they catch fire. Certainly the Cubs don't want that to happen tonight.
There's always that fine line, the balance between winning the ball game today and thinking about the big picture. Swing and a miss. Dempster striking out to start the 5th. Doesn't feel as cold tonight. The Brewers lead, or the Cubs lead 12-3 last night with Milwaukee ahead. It felt a little colder, and it was colder by about 8 or 9 degrees. You can handle it a little better when the home team's ahead.
You know, when those guys are down there running around the bases the way the Cubs have been tonight, it creates a little heat, the friction of their feet running on that infield dirt. I think that's what's warmed it up tonight.
Broken bat, liner, and a nice catch by that fan in the front row.
That split from the end nearly all the way down to the handle lengthwise. That's too long to be a tent peg. I don't even know what you could use that for. Firewood. There's a good fan.
Yeah, keeping score.
2 scorecards.
A lot of writing to do, and the Cubs have been up.
Maybe one is what really happens, and the other one is what he wants to have happen.
McClung's 1-2 pitch, a fly ball to left. Pretty well hit, but it'll be Gwynn to reach up and snag it. Here's another gander at our AT&T text poll question. Last chance to voice your opinion of the Cubs season so far. Not to try to sway the voting, but with a win tonight would be the best April win-wise in franchise history. The Cubs have never won 17 in the month of April. They had a chance to do that tonight. Sliced 2. Corey Hart in right. Terrio retired. The Cubs go down 1-2-3 for the second time tonight, but big innings otherwise. 12-3. easy at home to watch the Cubs, check out MLB.tv. You can log on to the internet to watch every out-of-market Cubs game live. For more details, visit Cubs.com, where baseball is always on. One ball, no strikes on Corey Hart. He has popped to the second baseman, Mark DeRosa, both times.
I've got a good this date in baseball history for you tonight. Back in 1970, Billy Williams became the first National League player to play in 1,000 consecutive ball games.
The Iron Man.
Yes, indeed.
You've been coming up with some good ones. You must have a big database.
I always try to find something related to the Cubs somehow. And anything involving Billy Williams, I'm going to bring up. He's one of our favorites.
He is. I assume he's at the ballpark tonight. I saw Billy yesterday. 3-2 on Hart. He's trying to extend his hitting streak to 9. He is on base for the first time tonight. That's the third walk given up by Ryan the last 2 innings, number 4 overall. And it's Bill Hall. Brad Wilkerson is available. He was cut by the Mariners. He had signed a $3 million one-year contract, was hitting .232 with 5 RBIs. And his last game, he went 3 for 3 with a walk. See you later.
Brad Wilkerson had some good years. He was a solid player.
And with the Expos. Pinch hitter Greg Norton also was cut. He was 7 for 16 in 6 games. DeRosa will tag Hart, and he gets the double play, 4-3.
That's exactly what you want that second baseman to do on that particular play. Run that guy hard back to first base. If you can apply the tag, go ahead and put the tag on him, throw to first for the double play. If not, you throw to first base, and now you've got that runner caught in a pickle between first and second. Handled perfectly. A lot of times you'll see the runner on that particular play lay down in the baseline, force that second baseman to bend over to apply the tag, assuming that that'll be enough time to give your hitter to get to first base and avoid the double play. That time Hart just tried to avoid the tag by running back to first, which is exactly what DeRosa wanted him to do.
The 2-0 pitch going with the Heat, 3-0. Chad Cordero going to miss at least a month. He has a tear in a muscle below his shoulder. So that's a lat injury. No surgery. Felt some pain on Tuesday night. We saw him pitch over the weekend. He was not throwing very hard. And another walk for Dempster. Mike Hampton in a minor league rehab outing with a pec injury. It's a chest muscle. Boy, it just never ends for Mike Hampton.
Just can't get on the field.
Sounds like John Smoltz may come back as a reliever when he comes off the DL, although Bobby Cox would love for him to be a starter.
There are very few challenges left for John Smoltz. He's been extremely successful as a closer, extremely successful as a starter. I thought he might come back as a center fielder.
He could probably do it.
Yeah, Bobby Cox said that years ago, that if John Smoltz had come up through the minor league system as an outfielder, he probably would have had a long and successful career as an everyday player. Great athlete.
Swing and a miss. Strike 3. 2 walks in the inning, but no damage done. Cubs 12, Brewers 3. Runs on 12 hits for the Cubs tonight. Milwaukee limited to just 3 runs on 4 hits. Ryan Dempster, I think, a little frustrated with all the walks, even though he has a commanding lead. I think he should be more worried about his hair.
Well, fortunately, he wears a hat when he goes to work and gets out there in front of the fans, but we saw Dempster in a kind of a similar situation. His last start at home against the Pirates, he only went 5 innings in that ball game, was very frustrated with himself that he wasn't able to work deeper into the game. Tonight, the pitch count caught up to him because of those base on balls you mentioned.
So 6 innings, it was a quality start. And it's Ronnie Cedeno for Derek Lee. Cued foul. This is one of those at bats. Darrell Ward's on deck, where I'm saying to myself, did I have an outer body experience back in the 5th? Because I'm thinking you don't pinch hit for Derek Lee, but yeah, I guess you do up 9. Thinking Ronnie would be hitting for maybe Terrio or pitcher.
No, but if you know you're going to take Derek Lee and Aramis Ramirez out of the ball game, you'd much prefer Ronnie Cedeno to lead off the inning rather than Darrell Ward. So just a little flip-flop in the lineup here. I'm sure Ward will stay in and play first base. We'll have to see where Ronnie ends up. Because of his versatility, he could go to third and replace Ramirez. He could go to second and move DeRosa over to third base. We'll see how Lou plays it.
A full count on Cedeno. Where would we be without our scorecards? I would have no shot at remembering who made the last out an inning ago. If I I didn't write it down. Let's revisit how you voted on tonight's AT&T text poll question. I do remember the question. We asked you to weigh in on what you think of the Cubs' record 1 month into the 2008 season. A good majority said the Cubs have been better than expected.
4% set the bar pretty high.
See what's new at the new AT&T. Visit att.com for details. And especially on a night like this when the Cubs sent 10 to the plate in the first inning. 8 more in the fourth. Base runners galore.
Darrell Ward, a guy still looking to get untracked here in the early going this season. His primary value to Lou Piniella is off the bench as a pinch hitter. He's 0 for 11 in that role, 1 for 16 overall.
Outside 2-1.
That's very little consolation to Darrell, but he has hit some balls hard this year. Doesn't have much to show for it up to this point. And this is a good opportunity here for Lou Piniella to get Darrell Ward into the ball game, where he'll have a chance to get at least a couple of at-bats, see some live pitching.
Some big blowouts tonight, Bob.
Yeah.
12-3, 13-1 in Florida. Dodgers leading in the bottom of the ninth. Pittsburgh 13, the Mets 1. That's a final. Over the American League, Tampa Bay with another win. 8-1 at Baltimore. So Boston is in first in the East. Tampa Bay and Baltimore, a game out. The Yankees lost at home to Detroit 6-2. Called strike 3. Call made by Leslie Nielsen or Tom Hallion.
He gets into it, doesn't he? Wow, watch him spin his head around and look back into the front row right behind home plate. Yeah.
For him to do the moonwalk. It's good. He has personality. I like that. Who had the most emphatic strike 3 call when you played?
Dutch Rennert. No question about it. Dutch would jump back several feet from home plate, drop down into a crouch, point out to his right. Very demonstrative.
Enrico Palazzo. That was the name of the character. A Naked Gun.
That's still one of the favorite movies in the clubhouse. You know, we travel around on the road, all these great new ballparks with the huge visitors clubhouses and big screen TVs, and that's one of the perennial favorites. That and Caddyshack. You can always count on seeing Caddyshack several times over the course of a baseball season.
Nice cameo by former Cub Jay Johnstone in Naked Gun. Gets away from Kendall and allows Ronnie to move up a base.
I think that one got a bite of Jason Kendall right there, taking his time, went out to the mound to talk to Seth McClung. Got him on the left wrist and then up in the rib cage area somewhere. Skitters over into the Cubs on deck circle. Ronnie advances to second base easily. It'll look like he's still trying to get some feeling back in that left hand.
Slide step in the pitch, and Fukudome was very late.
That's a slide step right there that wasn't designed at all to slow down the running game. That was to try to fool the hitter.
Klung last pitched on Sunday against the Marlins and took the loss. Gave up a Wes Helms solo home run. Down from Tampa Bay toward the end of July last year. Be a good mannequin, I think, Seth McClung. That is going to get down over Weeks. Cedeno scores 13-3. Fukudome now with 10 RBIs on the year. Concentration by Fukudome. Seth McClung took a long time before that last pitch.
It's something every Cub hitter has had in common tonight as you freeze it at contact. Every one of them watching that ball all the way into the hitting area. You got to see it to hit it. Your mechanics as a hitter can be perfect. You can physically be big and strong and quick, but if you don't see the ball, you're probably not going to make consistent contact.
Ontario has scored twice. Lee also did that before he was taken out for a pinch hitter who walked and scored. Ronnie Cedeno. Ramirez with 3 RBIs and a double and a run. Fukudome 2 hits, 2 runs, an RBI. DeRosa 2 hits, 2 RBIs, a walk, 2 runs. Soto 2 3-run homers.
You get Felix on the line there. Felix BA 0 for 3 with a couple of punch outs. Somebody's got to make the outs, I guess. Ontario helping Rich Hill heat up his ears there. Those little hand warmers they keep in the dugout for cold nights like this. The players can take them out there in their pocket. Keep their hands warm between pitches.
Ryan Dempster, the starter, still watching. Rich, by the way, will pitch Friday night. Kick off that weekend series in St. Louis. Another walk for DeRosa. Time now to have a ball with our friends at the Illinois Lottery. Kosuke Fukudome with a double as he hit it off the foot of pitcher Jeff Suppan. And then he came around to score. Mark DeRosa knocked him in. Tonight's have a ball thanks to the Illinois Lottery. Big hand for Giovanni Soto. And guess what? 2 on again for Soto.
And Mike Maddox, the pitching coach for the Brewers, with a quick meeting to the mound. I'm sure they're going to try to update their scouting report on Giovanni Soto, because what they've tried up to this point has not worked well for him.
His average up to 337. A pair of
ball at the knees on the edge of the outside corner.
A 1-2 pitch. He was trying for it and he missed it.
Well, he may have struck out right there, but here's tonight's Too Much Good Stuff, brought to you by AM/PM. Guess who? Giovanni Soto with his 4th home run of the year in the 1st inning, driving home a couple of teammates. Then again in the 4th, another 3-run homer, his 5th of the year, 20 RBI on the season. Giovanni Soto, too much good stuff. Thank you, AM/PM.
Ball one on PA. Fukudome at second, DeRosa at first. Missed again, 2-0. Excellent matchup tomorrow. Gallardo and Zambrano. Giovanni Gallardo with no record but a 0.64 earned run average. Z is 4-1 with a 2.21. Just the third start for Gallardo. He began the year on the DL with a torn lateral meniscus in his left knee. PA walks. Matt Merton will bat for Ryan Dempster. So PA has joined the parade of Cubs base runners.
Matt Merton, one of a number of Cubs who came out for early batting practice today. We told you a few days ago, Lou Piniella had a private tutoring session with Matt Merton in Colorado on that last road trip, looking at some videotape and then analyzing his swing.
Lou talked about the tough decision coming up tomorrow with Soriano coming off the DL. They'll have to make a commensurate roster move. Considering the position Matt Merton generally plays, his roster spot could be in jeopardy, but he'll be playing somewhere, either here in Iowa. Can't think too far down the road. He started the year at AAA.
And as you can imagine, Len, I mean, players, they're not stupid. They understand what it means when a player's coming off the disabled list, especially a player who plays your position. And your playing time has been rare to begin with. I'm sure that's been weighing heavily on Matt Merton's mind over the last couple of days, but he continues to go about his business and stay prepared in the event Lou needs him to go up there and take it at bat.
Speaking of the minor leagues, AA Tennessee lost at Jacksonville 10-6 today. Jeff Samardzija gave up 4 runs in 5 innings. Scott Air, with a scoreless inning, gave up a hit. Chad Fox took the loss. He allowed 4 runs on 3 hits in 2/3 of an inning, but I talked with Oneri Flita, who runs the Cubs player development, and he said he was better than his numbers looked, according to the reports. Off the plate inside. Top prospect for the Cubs, Josh Vitters, who's at Single A Peoria playing for Ryan Sandberg, has a hand injury, but it's not serious at this point. This tendonitis. And Merton strikes out with the bases loaded to end the inning, but the Cubs get a run. The RBI hit by Fukudome, and it's now 13-3. Changes for the Cubs, who lead the Brewers 13-3 as we get into the 7th. Darrell Ward remains in and plays first base. DeRosa goes from second to third. Henry Blanco's now catching. And we're not done yet. Bob Howry's on the mound. He'll pitch to Jason Kendall. He sends a ground ball to third base for DeRosa. Over to Ward, 1 out. Matt Merton is now playing right for Fukudome. And who did we forget? Ronnie Cedeno is playing second. Got everybody? So P.A., Terrio, and Johnson, the only players remaining in their same spots. The Lake Zurich High School football team, the 2007 7A state champs, will conduct our 7th inning stretch coming up. As you get a look at Bob Howry's numbers on the year.
Bob Howry threw a brief side session earlier today under the watchful eye of Larry Rothschild, just trying to correct a few mechanical issues. That's a touchy thing when you're trying to get a relief pitcher right. And Bob Howry has struggled off and on in the early going this season, but you don't want him to throw too much early in the afternoon to try to correct the problems that they have, because you may need him in the ball game that night.
Weeks has scored twice, 1 for 2 with a walk. If you just joined us, Giovanni Soto with 2 3-run homers. He's now out of the ball game. A career offensive night for Gio. Mike Cameron on deck. 1 out in the inning. The kick and the pitch. Slider missed low and outside. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Still trying to figure out where everybody's hitting in the Cubs lineup.
Yeah, me too.
Usually when you have multiple changes like we saw here in this inning, the pitcher goes into the spot that hit most recently. You don't want that pitcher spot to come up again. You want to give your offensive players that you're putting into the ball game the best chance of having an at bat in this game. So I'm assuming Bob Howry's hitting in Giovanni Soto's spot, that 7th spot in the lineup. We'll just have to wait until they make their way up to the plate.
The 2 home runs for Soto, a career high in a ball game. The 6 RBIs also a career high. His previous high in RBIs was 3 against Cincinnati on April 16th. Hit hard, and that's past a diving DeRosa. Left field corner, Reed Johnson will pick it up. And Weeks thought about 3. He's going to hold with 2.
Weeks probably could have had 3 if he goes hard the whole way, and thinks 3. Ball scalded down into that left field corner. Reed Johnson played it very carefully. Ball hit the side wall. He let it ricochet, and he did go hard out of the box. I stand corrected. I apologize, Ricky. And right there, he broke it down a little bit, and when Johnson played that ball cautiously, then he had thoughts about going for third base.
Cameron bounces it foul.
lot of changes. You see the pitcher in the 7th spot, previously occupied by Giovanni Soto. Cedeno in Lee's spot, Ward in Ramirez spot, Blanco in Fukudome spot, and Matt Merton, who pinch hit for the pitcher, stays in that 9 hole.
I feel like we're doing the dream sequence. It's from the heater in the dugout. I guess like in Wayne's World, right?
Much improved heaters in the dugouts here at Wrigley Field, by the way. I know for a fact as a visiting player, we used to come in here and they had these things that looked like jet engines, and they were about as loud as a jet engine. Singe the hair on the back of your legs if you weren't careful. Guys would put their bats in front of them. Occasionally there would be little fires break out in the dugout.
It's a called third on Cameron. 2 down.
Watch the umpire. Yeah, Tom Hallier.
Getting ready for the stretch. I think we've set a record for a number of people in our home television booth. What's up, guys? Lake Zurich, state champs.
13-1. What a year. What a year.
First football championship in their history.
You know their nickname, right?
The Bears.
The Bears. Had a chance to go down on the field before the ball game today. Pose for a team picture behind home plate.
You know, Carlos Zambrano's a big fan.
Oh, yeah.
He wants a jacket. The 1-0 pitch to Mike Rivera. Tails outside. Weeks doubled with 1 out. Now there are 2 outs. And Howry's 2-0. Big swing by Rivera, 2-1. Final in Philadelphia, Padres 4, Phillies 2. Chris Young over Jamie Moyer, Trevor Hoffman with his 5th save. San Francisco edged Colorado 3-2.
Chase Utley with his 11th home run in that San Diego Philly game.
Oh, what a start for him. I mentioned St. Louis did win 5-2 at home against Cincinnati. But the Cubs lead by 10 to try to keep pace atop the division.
Aaron Harang, the loser in that ball game for the Reds, goes to 1-4 with an ERA of 2.98. Tough luck loser.
If the Cubs win, it's a virtual tie. They have played 2 fewer games than the Cardinals, which means their winning percentage will be higher. But they would be the same amount of games over 500. Cliff Lee is 5-0. Cleveland beat Seattle 8-3. They check in on his earned run average. It was ridiculous going into that start. Pitchers on deck. Seth McClung. Cliff Lee at 0.96 with his 5-0 start. Fans want a strikeout. Here's a payoff pitch. There's a deep drive to left for Mike Rivera, and that is out on the Waveland. A 2-run homer, and it's 13-5. And here it comes.
Heads up.
Heads up. Guy out walking his dog ended up with that ball on Waveland, and he fired it back in.
Boy, even in a 13-3 ball game, you put hitters in predictable counts where they can be aggressive and really let it out. Rivera crushed that ball to left field.
That's his first home run of the year. Seth McClung went around.
Dog saying, where'd that ball go? Throw the ball, go, throw the ball, throw the ball, throw the ball.
The dog was hungry. Fouled back.
Seth McClung taking a pretty healthy hack up there for a pitcher. This is his first at bat of the season.
His third career plate appearance. 0 for 1 officially in his major league career. 2-2. (13-5) after the Rivera home run. (2-2) offering called strike 3. 7th inning stretch time.
The ball game are the Lake Zurich High School Class 7A state football champions.
Our 7th inning stretch tonight. Cubs 13, Brewers 5.
We could have won state if the coach had just put me in a quarterback.
Yeah. Vote for Pedro. Strike 1 on Reed Johnson. Bottom 7. 0-2.
96 on that heater from McClung.
Been a fun night here at the old ballpark. No matter what happens the rest of the way, Seth McClung will get a pat on the back from his manager and his pitching coach for eating up some innings. This is his third inning of work. Look out. Johnson was way late. Gabe Kapler is in the ball game. And he's playing right. So let's see. Don't see Craig Counsell on the field. He would be the only guy left on their bench. Broken bat, ground ball. This play by Edgar Tovar, one of the Cubs bullpen catchers.
Well, that one had a funny sound to it. Reed Johnson split a couple of bats here tonight.
Another 0-2 pitch. Now 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Boy, there's not enough electrical tape in the world to put those back together and use out on the backyard. You know, those bats are done.
Oh, I used to do that all the time.
Yeah.
Broken knobs.
A couple of wood screws and some electrical tape, you're good to go.
He just broke another one. Yeah, the same sound. That one didn't split like the previous bat did.
He's going to hear that noise in his sleep tonight. Need a wagon to haul off the broken wood.
Be careful, Patrick. Carlos Marmol. Remember him? Seems like it's been a while since we last saw Carlos on the mound. Relatively speaking. It's been a few days.
Yeah, it's been about 5 days since Carlos has towed the mound in anger.
Last pitched on the 25th in Washington. The starter, Ryan Dempster, went 6. Allowed 4 hits, 3 runs. He walked 5 and struck out just 1. And he is set up to win his 4th game against no losses. Yet another pitch in this sequence, and it's gone full. What an at-bat by Reed Johnson. Might not seem like a big deal with his team up 8, but if you just put this at-bat in a vacuum, it's been one of the better ones we've seen all year.
Talk about not giving away an at-bat in a 13-5 ball game in the 7th inning. Reed Johnson battling like he's the tying run in the ball game.
The 3-2 pitch, a swing and a miss. Cost him a couple of bats, but he made McClung earn it. called strike on a fastball at 93. What a night for Giovanni Soto. A couple of 3-run homers. When he hit his first one, it was in the first inning, and it was already 3-zip.
He hit the ball hard his first 3 times up. 2 of them left the yard. Another deep drive to left field that was caught.
That was with a runner on base, and in his final at bat, he came up again with 2 on and struck out. A rough rehab start for left-hander Mark Mulder of the Cardinals. In Memphis, he gave up 9 runs. Coming off shoulder surgery in September, another broken bat. Rolled to Rivera. He'll step on first.
Well, Seth McClung is going to get a thank you card from Louisville Slugger this offseason. He's carving up some bats here in this ball game tonight. And you mentioned his manager Ned Yost really appreciating what Seth McClung has been able to do here tonight, eating up some innings and keeping Ned Yost out of that bullpen. You can change your place in the pecking order too in a ball game like this. A blowout game. McClung comes in here, gets some big outs, saves that bullpen. Suddenly you move up a notch or 2 in the eyes of your manager and your pitching coach. Which you have to go right back out there and earn it again the next time you're called upon. But this is the kind of outing that will raise your status in that bullpen.
Three and nothing on Ronnie Cedeno, who has become all of a sudden a very patient hitter. He walked as a pinch hitter in the 6th. Has now walked 5 times. He has struck out 8 times, but has put himself in good hitters counts. He's in another one, and he takes the second free pass of the night. Tom Gorzolani left the Pirates 13-1 win because of back tightness, but does not expect to miss a start. 5 scoreless innings for him.
Yeah, the Mets only had 2 base hits in that ball game. A 13-1 loss to the Pirates.
Noel Lowry, another left-hander with San Francisco, is going to be shut down. He's coming back from a nerve injury in his forearm. Still has some tingling in his left forearm. Had surgery in March. Feathered into center. Mike Cameron is there to make the catch for out number 3 after 7. It's a blowout, 13-5.
Cam, a new twist on a Sly and the Family Stone classic, Everyday People. Maroon 5, Sly and the Family Stone with Everyday People. That came from the 2006 release, Different Strokes by different folks. Some updated versions of some Sly and the Family Stone classics with various artists joining in. That's tonight's Bud Light Fan Cam. Bud Light keeps it coming.
And we look forward to the updated version of Hot Fun in the summertime, maybe a little bit later on this season. Gabe Kapler against Carlos Marmol. We're in the 8th inning. 13-5 Cubs. Kapler did not play in 2007. He was a manager in the minor leagues in the Red Sox organization. His Class A Greenville club went 58-81. Came out of retirement, signed with the Brewers, and made the club. Many have headed for other destinations, but a huge crowd tonight, 39,908. They were into it early as the Cubs got it going with 6 in the first off Jeff Suppan.
Marmol very erratic here in the early going. First 3 pitches to Kapler, all over the place. Take a deep breath, regroup.
Well, maybe this is the night he shakes off the rust. First appearance in 5 days. Might be needed in a bigger spot tomorrow afternoon.
You bring up a good point, Len. You don't want to run a relief pitcher out there that hasn't been on the mound in 5 or 6 days. Suddenly throw him into a close ball game with runners in scoring position and expect him to find that strike zone right away. That's why you see Carlos Marmol on the mound in a ball game like this.
Three-two pitch. We'll do it again. Good to take an inventory at the end of the first month, even though the Cubs did start the season. On the final day of March, called strike 3. Marmol got back into the count and then struck out Kapler. Looking.
Well, it's absolutely maddening for a hitter. The first 3 pitches are nowhere near the strike zone. And Marmol comes back to throw 3 in the zone, including a nearly unhittable strike right there on the outside corner at the knees.
Bill Hall is 0 for 3. This is a Cubs club that started the year 1-3. And will end up probably at 17-10 after the first month of the season, tied for first in the division. If you had to pick one thing as far as the most significant development, what would it be?
I think the renewed approach by the entire Cubs offensive unit, taking the base on balls, working deep hitters counts, forcing the opposition to throw a lot of pitches, getting into that bullpen early. Yeah, that's been the biggest change over last year's team for me, and the biggest surprise.
I would agree. Right behind that, I would say the starting rotation still trying to find itself collectively, but Zambrano much better this April than we've seen him the last few Aprils. Ryan Dempster has exceeded every expectation early on. Still trying to get the left-handers going. Ted Lilly's been getting better. And Rich Hill just hasn't gotten into any sort of rhythm. And because of that, he's even gotten more out of rhythm because Lou has tried to keep certain guys on an every 5th day rotation. And also Milwaukee with good numbers against left-handers, he didn't want Rich starting in this series. Jason Marquis with an off night last night. Swung on and missed. Back-to-back Ks for Marmol.
A lot of people may say Giovanni Soto is a big surprise, but I honestly thought Giovanni Soto was going to be a good hitter. I questioned whether defensively he would be able to handle the everyday workload, catching a big league pitching staff and all that entails. But he has handled everything that's come his way with ease. Even that 8 strikeout streak. 8 straight Ks.
Well, nobody wants to go through it, but I didn't see him sulking anywhere. He was the happiest guy on the field after the Cubs pitched a combined shutout on Saturday night, even though he struck out all 5 times. You learn so much more about a player, about a human being when you go through adversity. And Lou continues to talk about how impressed he was with Giovanni and how he handled that.
A lot of times with it, especially a young catcher, you see it at all the positions, but especially a young catcher at the major league level. It can be a lot on your plate, a lot of things going through your mind. Wondering whether you really belong up here or not. You know, you look in the batter's box and you see some of the guys you were watching on TV just a year or so ago, and here you are catching behind him now. But he doesn't appear to be intimidated at all. He takes charge of the pitching staff no matter who's on the mound. He doesn't hesitate to go out to the mound, either settle a pitcher down or pat him on the back, tell him let's get it going. He has really taken to that position, and it's been a huge improvement over what the Cubs have had in the recent past.
2-2 on Hardy. Sliders outside. That was a slower version. Cubs bullpen been up and down early on. So far so good for Kerry Wood. His stuff has been crisp. He's been durable. Carlos Marmol's been very busy and has done the job. It's Henry Blanco to make the catch, and that'll end the Brewers 8. They go down in order. Bottom 8, 13-5 Cubs. Milwaukee 13-5. Just keep everything moving out there. Or is that the camera shaking? Thought they were shivering. Henry Blanco will lead off the last of the 8th against fireballer Derek Turnbow. Ed Hardig reporting Giovanni Soto with the 20 RBIs, the most by a Cubs rookie in April since 1956. He's also guessing it's the Cubs all-time rookie record for April. The season didn't start until mid-April through the 50s. One and one on Cubs backup catcher Henry Blanco. He's not a rookie. He's been around for a long time.
Part of his job this year is to mentor the rookie Giovanni Soto. We've had several shots of them sitting together on the bench between innings, talking about pitch selection, how to best motivate the guy they have out there on the mound. Certainly has speeded up the process for Gio to have a guy like Henry Blanco there to show him the ropes.
Michael Wirtz getting ready for the 9th. Well, a nice moment tonight. Chevy teamed up with Autism Speaks to invite kids onto the field to meet some players, get their pictures taken before the ball game tonight. For each strikeout a Cubs pitcher throws tonight, Chevy making a donation towards ending autism. And adding them up, Cubs pitchers with 5 strikeouts. Waves at strike 3. 1 out in the inning. It's been a struggle for Turnbow. Ed Yost has struggled to find spots for him. Came in with a 7.94 ERA.
Not only that, but in his 5 2/3 innings leading up to tonight, he'd given up 8 base hits and 9 walks. And hit a batter. 18 base runners in 5 2/3 innings.
The producer of tonight's Cubs broadcast, Pete Toma. Our director is Skip Ellison. Our associate producer is Mark Brady. The executive producer of Cubs baseball on Cubsnet is Bob Vorwald. Thanks as well to our stage manager in the booth, Paula Oscroba. Colin Kiley is our production assistant. Our studio coordinators back at WGN's studios, Joe Pizzo and Eric Johnson. And thanks to our entire WGN sports crew here at Wrigley Field. The person sleeping, I don't think, was part of the crew. If so, just had the night off. Foul pop.
The guy saw all the Z's on the Lake Zurich football team jackets and decided to take their advice. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me a bit to see Carlos Zambrano wearing a Lake Zurich football letterman's jacket.
If you get a chance, you might want to pick up the Big Z, the Carlos Zambrano story, a biography. It came out last fall on Carlos. It's about his journey from Venezuela all the way to the major leagues. It's the third walk for Mark DeRosa tonight.
I like the approach by the Cubs hitters. I mean, we talked about it just a moment ago. Taking walks, working deep counts. A lot of time in a ball game like this, guys will get out of their good habits. They'll go up to the plate and start hacking away. But the Cubs continue to eyeball the opposing pitchers and force them to throw the ball over the plate.
Fontenot hits for Marmol. Nice catch by a Carlos Zambrano fan in the upper deck. Ball hit the seat. And he played the carom well after it hit the guy wire. Base hit to left. 2 on with 1 out. You packed up and ready to head to St. Louis, or were you planning on packing after the ball game tonight?
Pack? That's a short trip.
It's a short trip. We will be doing one of the 3 games this weekend. Always fun when the Cubs and Cardinals get together.
It is way too early in the season to put too much emphasis on that series, just like it's way too early in the season to put too much emphasis on this series. But certainly with the 2 teams sitting atop the National League Central, should be fun.
Lazy fly to right. It's Gabe Kapler to make the catch. You like what the Cubs have done against their own division, and considering so many games are played within the division, a win tonight would make them 12-5 versus the Central. By far the best record within the division. Hit hard on a bounce, and it gets past Weeks. And another run in. It's DeRosa scoring number 14 for the Cubs. 14-5.
Matt Merton joins the hit parade. Smoked that ball back up the middle of the field. Nice quick swing. Turnbow stumbled a little bit out there on the mound. Very nearly leaned into that line drive back up the middle of the field.
The Cubs have now scored 14 runs 3 times already.
I think I mentioned this stat a week or so ago. Of course, the numbers have changed since then, but still the Cubs' best offensive inning has been the 3rd. But the second best has been the 8th, followed by the 7th and the 6th. So they're doing a lot of their damage late in the ball game. Love to see that. Not to mention the fact they've scored 8 runs in extra innings.
Actually, that is not right what I said. They've scored 13 runs 3 times. This is a season high. Look out, Reed Johnson. 3-0. 3-1. So every Brewer pitcher, there have been 4 of them, has allowed at least 1 run. Suppan, the starter, gave up 11 runs. 7 were earned. Ball 4 to load him up for Terrio. Going into action tonight, Cubs with at least 1 plate appearance with the bases loaded in 10 straight games, so make it 11. This is not the first time they've had the bases loaded tonight. They had a 10-game streak back in 1979. Last time they had such a bases loaded streak. And only the Oakland Athletics have had more plate appearances with the bases loaded this year in the major leagues, and that's very impressive. It just tells you that they're taking walks. Obviously they're getting their hits, but it goes back to that patient approach, that new approach you talked about collectively that this team has displayed throughout the first month.
Yeah, I really don't think Gerald Perry's philosophy of hitting has changed any since he came over to the Cubs. You may remember we talked to Gerald in spring training a couple years ago, and his philosophy is to attack the strike zone. When you get a pitch in the strike zone, be aggressive, put a good swing on it, try to do some damage. The problem was too many times in years past the Cubs would attack anything the pitcher threw up there at the plate. Much more selective this year, but still getting good aggressive swings in the zone.
Three and one with the bases loaded. Gotta love these fans. This game has not really been in doubt since the first inning. They want more. 3-2.
So even in a 14-5 ball game, that's a good take by Ryan Terrio. I mean, it seems like a little thing here at the end of the game against a struggling pitcher. And now those runners are going to be in motion out there with 2 outs and a full count. Chance to clear the bases.
The runners do go, and it's fouled away up on the roof.
There's so many advantages to be gained by working those deep counts, especially the full counts with 2 outs in the situation that Ryan Terrio finds himself in right here. Good speed on the bases. They'll all be on the run.
The Brewers, Bob, have thrown almost, I'm doing the quick math, they've pretty much thrown 200 pitches, and we're in the 8th inning. Suppan threw 92, Schaus was 6, McClung 72 pitches, Turnbull almost 30. Rivera comes over near his dugout. No room. We often have fun with the pitch count when we get to the 15th to the 16th inning. We're in the bottom of the 8th, and the Brewers pitching staff has essentially thrown 200 pitches. Gabe Kapler will have to go get it. 1 in, here comes 2, make it 3. Ronnie Cedeno with a 3-run double. What a huge month he's had in limited action.
He's made the most of every opportunity with runners on base. This time a line drive over the head of Gabe Kapler out there in right field, clearing the bases. A short, quick swing by Cedeno has really shortened up his approach at the plate, which is probably why he's seeing the ball so much better this year. He can wait a little bit longer with that quick swing. good start to the year for Ronnie.
16 RBIs, 3 plate appearances tonight, 2 walks, a 3-run double, and a run scored. 18-5. They've scored 5 times against Derek Turnbull, who continues to struggle.
Now, Ronnie was 16 RBI on the year, I believe.
That is correct.
9 of those have come after the 7th inning of a ball game. Talk about some clutch RBIs.
Had a grand slam on the last homestand.
There's not a manager on the planet that could do anything about this.
Darrell Ward finds the gap. That ball deep. Off the wall. 19-5. Now there's nobody to bail out Derek Turnbull, who has faced 9 batters this inning. The Milwaukee bullpen empty. He's given up 6 runs. Well, they have teed off on him.
Second time in the ball game the Cubs have batted around in an inning. Darrell Ward just crushes that ball to right center field. Hit about halfway up the wall out there. Everybody getting in on the act tonight.
Swing and a miss by Henry. Now they do have action. It's Mitch Stetter. It's been a while since the Cubs last scored 20. 2001. Seventeen hits, 28 total bases. Eight walks. They've scored at least 5 runs in 3 separate innings. The 3-1 pitch. Well, they're getting some good swings on Derek Turnbull. Payoff pitch. Henry walks. Turnbull is just falling apart, and Ed Yost really doesn't have a choice.
Well, that was one of the uglier pitching performances I've seen in a long time. He was either missing the strike zone by a mile or throwing it right down the middle of the plate. No in between.
So Yost will make a pitching change. The 8th is still on. 2 on, and the Cubs lead 19-5. the Cubs have scored at least 5 runs, they'd be on that list with just tonight alone 3 times. We talk so much about the crooked numbers, putting up 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And the Cubs have done that with regularity. So Stetter tries to stop the bleeding for the Brewers here in the 8th. Meanwhile, DeRosa with 2 singles, 2 RBIs, 3 walks, 3 runs.
As much fun as this has been to watch the Cubs offense explode the way they have, the reality is you come back tomorrow, you got to get right back to work. Start off at 0-0.
And the big story tomorrow will be the return of Alfonso Soriano from the disabled list. Swing and a miss. That's strike 3. But what an inning. Another half dozen, making it 19-5 to the 9th. Tonight here at the corner of Clark and Addison, Cubs bats hot all night, even with a few broken ones mixed in. And Michael Wirtz looks for the final 3 outs. His team up by 14. How about a nice 1-2-3 here? 0-2 on Tony Gwynn. Michael struggled last night. Bases loaded walk. And he also gave up a 2-run single. He was not charged with a run. Ground ball to Cedeno. feel like all of a sudden we're in the American League. 340 last night. We're nearing that tonight. That's what happens when you get all this offense. 17 runs combined last night, 24 tonight.
That's also a byproduct of what we've been talking about for the last couple of innings. Working deep counts, taking the base on balls. That will tend to lengthen a ball game, but in a good way.
Yeah, last night seemed a lot longer than tonight. The 1-1 to Kendall. Bounce back to Wirtz. He's able to knock it down. He'll pick it up. 2 outs. Fans are up with 2 outs. It's Ricky Weeks who has scored 3 of their 5 runs. Strike 1. That was a fastball. The 0-1 pitch. 1-1. A lot of fans here at Wrigley Field are waiting to sing. And a strike away.
Go ahead and start warming up. La 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 la.
Tune the guitars. A lot of W flags from the giveaway tonight. They're already flying them. Check swing. They'll appeal. No. Brian O'Nora at first base. Brewer fans, I guess, think their team might be able to come back. I would beg to differ. Two pitch. And the count holding. Two pitch up in the air. Ryan Theriot makes the grab and the Cubs win. It was all over but the shouting really after 1 inning. The Cubs played it 6 against Jeff Suppan. A big 5-run 4th inning. They added 6 in the 8th. 19-5 the final score.